The sharp crack of the pie crust echoed through the quiet suburban kitchen like a gunshot in the dead of night. And as the knife sliced deeper, a glint of metal caught the light, something buried within the flaky layers that wasn't fruit or filling. Sarah's hands froze, her heart pounding as she stared at the anomaly. The sweet aroma of apples and cinnamon suddenly tainted by an undercurrent of dread. What kind of welcome was this from the elderly woman next door? And why did it feel like the pie held a secret that could unravel lives? Eleanor Thompson, at 85, had lived in the same creaky Victorian house on Elm Street for over 6 decades, her days a rhythmic dance of solitude and small rituals. She rose with the sun, tending to her garden where roses bloomed defiantly against the encroaching weeds of time, and baked pies that carried the whispers of her youth. But on this crisp autumn morning, as leaves swirled like forgotten memories outside her window, Eleanor decided it was time to extend a hand, or rather, appeto the new family next door. The Millers had moved in just a week ago, their moving truck a blur of boxes and laughter that pierced the quiet veil of her existence. She watched them from her porch, young parents, Sarah and Tom, with their 2 children, wide-eyed and energetic, chasing each other across the lawn. They reminded her of her own family, long scattered by life's relentless winds. With arthritic fingers that still remembered the precision of youth, Eleanor gathered ingredients from her pantry: flour sifted like snow, butter chilled to perfection, and apples from the tree her late husband had planted on their wedding day. As she rolled out the dough, her mind wandered to the past, to the secrets she had buried deeper than any recipe. The pie wasn't just a gesture of neighborly kindness. It was a vessel, a way to pass on something she could no longer carry alone. She paused, her eyes misting over, and reached into a hidden drawer for the item that would change everything. Carefully, she wrapped it in wax paper and nestled it into the filling, sealing the crust with a prayer that it would find understanding hearts. Sarah Miller, exhausted from unpacking yet another box, answered the doorbell with flour-dusted hands of her own from her own failed attempt at cookies for the kids. There stood Eleanor, frail yet poised, holding a lattice-topped pie that smelled like heaven itself. "Welcome to the neighborhood, dear," Eleanor said, her voice a soft tremor of warmth. "I baked this for you and your family. Nothing says home like a fresh pie." Sarah accepted it gratefully, touched by the gesture from the woman who seemed like a relic from a simpler time. Little did she know, as she set it on the counter and called her family to dinner, that this pie held more than sweetness. That evening, as the family gathered around the table, the pie became the centerpiece. Tom sliced it with enthusiasm, the children giggling in anticipation. But as the first piece was lifted, something tumbled out: a small, antique locket, tarnished but intricate, landing with a soft clink on the plate. Gasps filled the room. Inside the locket was a faded photograph of a young couple, and tucked behind it, a handwritten note. "To my new neighbors, this is the key to a story long hidden. Come visit me tomorrow, and I'll share what it means. With hope, Eleanor." The Millers exchanged bewildered glances. What could an 85-year-old woman possibly hide in a pie? Curiosity mingled with concern. Was this a cry for help, or something more sinister? Sarah felt a pull, a maternal instinct kicking in despite Eleanor being old enough to be her grandmother. She decided they would visit the next day, pie remnants forgotten on the table. Morning brought a chill wind, and as Sarah knocked on Eleanor's door, pie dish in hand, she wondered if they were stepping into a trap or a treasure. Eleanor welcomed them with tea and stories, her living room a museum of faded photographs and knitted afghans. "The locket," she began, her eyes distant, "belonged to my sister, Rose. We were inseparable as girls, but life tore us apart." As Eleanor spoke, the room filled with the weight of unspoken regrets. Rose had run away at 18, chasing dreams in the big city, leaving Eleanor to care for their ailing parents. Letters came at first, then silence. The locket was the last gift Rose had given her, a symbol of their bond. But as Eleanor delved deeper, a twist emerged unexpectedly. The doorbell rang, and in walked a man in his 60s, rugged and weathered, introducing himself as Jack, Eleanor's long-lost nephew Rose's son, whom Eleanor had never met until recently. He had tracked her down through genealogy sites, arriving just days before the Millers moved in. "Aunt Ellie," he said, embracing her. I came because Mom's last wish was for me to find you." The room hushed as Jack revealed that Rose had passed away a year ago, leaving behind journals that spoke of regret and love for her sister. The locket, it turned out, contained not just a photo, but a tiny map etched on the back leading to a time capsule buried in Eleanor's garden, filled with letters from Rose. Sarah's heart ached as she watched Eleanor clutch the locket, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. This wasn't just a neighbor's quirk. It was a bridge across generations, a reminder that forgiveness and connection could bloom even in the autumn of life. The children, wide-eyed, listened as Jack shared stories of his mother, painting Rose as a vibrant woman who never forgot her roots. Tom, usually reserved, found himself opening up about his own estranged family, the pie becoming a catalyst for vulnerability. As the afternoon wore on, they dug up the time capsule together, a rusted box brimming with yellowed letters, pressed flowers, and a small diary. Each page revealed Rose's life, her struggles in the city, her joys as a mother, her enduring love for Eleanor despite the distance. "I baked the pie," Eleanor confessed, "because I saw your family and remembered what I lost. I couldn't bear to open this alone." The twist of Jack's arrival amplified the emotion, turning a simple visit into a reunion that healed old wounds. Yet, as they pored over the artifacts, another layer unfolded. One letter from Rose mentioned a hidden inheritance, not money, but a collection of recipes passed down from their grandmother, infused with stories of resilience during the Great Depression. Eleanor laughed through tears, realizing Rose had never truly left her. The Millers, drawn into this web of history, felt their own bonds strengthen. Sarah hugged her children closer, vowing to nurture connections before they frayed. By evening, as the sun dipped low, Eleanor felt lighter, the burden of solitude lifted by unexpected kinship. The pie had been more than food. It was an invitation to share pain and joy, proving that at any age, one could rewrite endings. But as Jack mentioned a final secret in Rose's journal, the air thickened with anticipation. What else lay hidden in the past? The revelation hung in the air like the scent of unearthed soil, as Jack pulled out a worn journal from his bag, its pages whispering promises of deeper mysteries. Eleanor's hands trembled as she took it, the leather cover cool against her skin, evoking memories she thought buried forever. Sarah, sensing the shift, gathered her family closer, unaware that this journal would twist their involvement from mere witnesses to active participants in a tale of lost love and redemption. Flipping through the entries, Eleanor read aloud, her voice gaining strength with each word. Rose had written of a forbidden romance in her youth, a soldier named Henry, met during World War II, whose letters had sustained her through the chaos. But societal pressures and family expectations forced her to leave, hiding a pregnancy that became Jack. The journal detailed Henry's disappearance after the war, presumed dead, but Rose's final entries hinted at a different truth. He had survived, changed his name, and lived quietly in a nearby town until his death a decade ago. Tucked in the back was a faded postcard from Henry, addressed to Rose but never sent, confessing his undying love. The twist came swiftly with the arrival of an unexpected visitor, Maggie, a sprightly woman in her 70s, who knocked tentatively on the door. She introduced herself as Henry's daughter, having discovered the connection through old letters found in her father's attic. "I came as soon as I pieced it together," Maggie said, her eyes mirroring Eleanor's in shape and sorrow. This auxiliary character, bursting into the scene like a forgotten melody, shifted the perspective. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about sisters, but a web of interconnected lives touched by war's cruelty and time's mercy. Maggie brought artifacts of her own, a bundle of Henry's wartime letters to Rose, yellowed and tied with ribbon, each one a testament to enduring affection. As the group sat in Eleanor's parlor, the afternoon light filtering through lace curtains, they unraveled the threads. Henry had returned from the war broken, assuming Rose had moved on, and built a new life without knowing of Jack. Rose, heartbroken, had fled to protect her child from scandal. The pie, Eleanor realized, had set this chain in motion, her simple act of baking unleashing a cascade of revelations that mended fractured histories. Emotions ran high as Jack confronted his lineage, anger mixing with grief. "Why didn't she tell me?" he whispered, but Maggie's gentle hand on his shoulder offered solace. "Because love protects, even when it hurts," she replied, her own voice cracking. Sarah watched, tears welling, as this unfolded a reminder of how secrets, meant to shield, often wound deeper. Her own marriage to Tom had its strains, unspoken tensions from career moves and child-rearing. But witnessing this raw humanity inspired her to bridge their gaps. Together, they pored over the letters, each one building a portrait of young love amid turmoil. Henry's words painted vivid scenes. Trenches in Europe, the ache of separation, dreams of a future with Rose. Eleanor's heart swelled with vicarious joy and pain, imagining her sister's hidden burdens. The children, initially fidgety, became entranced, asking questions that prompted stories of resilience, how Eleanor had supported the family through rationing, baking pies from scraps to bring comfort. As dusk approached, Maggie shared a surprising detail. Henry had left a small inheritance for any descendants of Rose, discovered in his will. It wasn't vast, but enough to fund a community garden in their town, a place for healing and growth. This twist emphasized the human value. Legacy wasn't about wealth, but fostering connections. Eleanor proposed they use it to revitalize her own garden, turning it into a shared space for the neighborhood. The evening evolved into a makeshift family gathering, with Eleanor pulling out old photo albums. Laughter mingled with sobs as resemblances were noted. Jack's eyes like Henry's, Maggie's smile echoing Rose's. Tom, moved by the scene, confessed his admiration for Eleanor's courage at 85, still opening her heart to strangers. Sarah felt a profound shift, the pie's unexpected contents teaching her that vulnerability invites miracles. Yet, as they bid goodnight, Jack mentioned one more entry in the journal, a cryptic reference to a hidden box in Eleanor's attic, something Rose had sent years ago, but Eleanor never opened. The air buzzed with renewed intrigue, promising more layers to peel back. The attic stairs creaked under their weight like bones protesting the climb, each step pulling Eleanor deeper into the shadows of her past, where dust motes danced in flashlight beams like ghosts of forgotten dreams. As the group ascended, Eleanor leading with determined frailty, followed by Jack, Maggie, Sarah, and Tom, the air grew thick with anticipation and the faint scent of mothballs. What lay in that unopened box from Rose could either seal their newfound bonds or shatter them with one final, unforeseen truth. Reaching the top, Eleanor pointed to a corner shrouded in old sheets, her voice barely above a whisper. "She sent it 20 years ago, said it was for when I was ready. I never was until now." Jack carefully lifted the box, its cardboard worn and taped, and they carried it downstairs to the warmth of the living room. As they gathered around, the children asleep on the couch, the lid was pried open, revealing a trove that took their breath away, a stack of paintings, vibrant and emotive, signed by Rose. The twist introduced an auxiliary element through the artworks themselves. Each canvas depicted scenes from their shared childhood, but with hidden symbols that told a parallel story. One painting showed two girls by a river, but upon closer inspection, a faint outline of a soldier lurked in the background. Maggie gasped, recognizing her father's features. "She painted him into your lives," she said, awestruck. This unexpected artistic legacy reframed Rose not as a runaway, but as a silent guardian, channeling her regrets into beauty. Eleanor's eyes filled as she traced the brushstrokes, feeling her sister's presence anew. Rose was always the dreamer, the one with colors in her soul. I was the practical one, baking to keep us grounded. The paintings evoked a rush of memories, summer days picking berries, winter nights by the fire, all infused with the kitsch tin of unspoken loss. Jack, turning a canvas, found a letter attached, Rose's confession of painting these during lonely nights, hoping one day to reunite and explain. The emotional depth deepened as Sarah connected the dots. The pie's locket had been a clue, leading to this attic treasure. It highlighted human values, art as therapy, forgiveness as a canvas for renewal. Tom, inspired, shared his own hidden talent for sketching, bonding with the group over creative expression. Maggie revealed she was an art teacher, offering to appraise the paintings, which turned out to hold modest value but immense sentimental worth. As they discussed displaying them in the proposed community garden, a sense of purpose bloomed. Eleanor felt rejuvenated. Her 85 years no longer a cage, but a tapestry of experiences. The children's awakening added innocence, their questions sparking laughter amid tears. "Is this like a treasure hunt?" the youngest asked, and Eleanor nodded. "Life is, dear. Full of surprises." But the night held one more pivot, a final painting at the bottom, depicting Eleanor alone in her kitchen, baking a pie, with a spectral figure watching Rose. Inscribed on the back, "Bake for others what I couldn't for you. Love eternal." This emphasized the pie's role, a symbol of nurturing across divides. Dawn broke with plans forming a neighborhood gathering to unveil the garden and paintings. Yet, whispers of another secret lingered, as Maggie mentioned a living relative Henry had, unknown until now. The community garden took shape under golden autumn skies, volunteers including the Millers, Jack, and Maggie transforming Eleanor's overgrown plot into a haven of blooms and benches, each shovel of earth unearthing not just soil, but layers of collective healing. As the paintings were hung on a makeshift gallery wall, Eleanor's heart swelled with a mix of pride and melancholy, knowing this culmination stemmed from one bold pie. But as the unveiling approached, a final visitor arrived, twisting the narrative toward an ultimate resolution of love's enduring power. He was an elderly man, stooped but sharp-eyed, introducing himself as Victor Henry's long-lost brother, the auxiliary character who reframed everything with his tales of survival. Victor had served alongside Henry, witnessing the war's horrors, and carried letters Henry wrote but never sent. "I found you through the obituary," he explained, handing over a bundle that completed the puzzle. These letters revealed Henry's post-war struggles with trauma, his decision to hide rather than burden Rose. Victor's presence amplified emotions, sharing stories of brotherhood that paralleled Eleanor and Rose's sisterhood. The group listened, rapt, as he described Henry's final days, whispering regrets and hopes for reconciliation. This twist shifted perspectives, emphasizing forgiveness's ripple effects. Sarah reflected on her own life, mending ties with distant relatives. Jack found closure, embracing his Uncle Victor. Maggie, tearful, saw her father's humanity anew. The unveiling became a celebration. Neighbors gathered, sharing pies baked from Rose's recipes. Eleanor spoke, her voice strong. "At 85, I baked a pie not just for welcome, but for connection. Inside was my heart, unexpected but true." As laughter filled the air, bonds solidified generations linked by one grandmother's courage. The story closed with Eleanor watching the sunset, pie in hand, whispering to Rose's spirit, "We did it, sister." Yet, in the quiet, Victor hinted at one last letter for Eleanor's eyes, only promising the cycle continues.